The Secret Garden. Francis Hodgson Burnett. Previously on The Secret Garden. Mary Lennox awoke to her first morning at Misselthwaite Manor, a cold, unfamiliar room, and a maid named Martha who spoke her mind without fear. Their words clashed like storm and sunlight, and Mary's anger, for once, met something stronger than her pride. By the time the morning ended, she had cried her first true tears, and somewhere, without knowing, she had begun to change. It had not been the custom that Mistress Mary should do anything but stand and allow herself to be dressed like a doll. But before she was ready for breakfast, she began to suspect that her life at Misselthwaite Manor would end by teaching her a number of things quite new to her, things such as putting on her own shoes and stockings, and picking up things she let fall. If Martha had been a well-trained fine young lady's maid, she would have been more subservient and respectful, and would have known that it was her business to brush hair, and button boots, and pick things up and lay them away. She was, however, only an untrained Yorkshire rustic who had been brought up in a moorland cottage with a swarm of little brothers and sisters who had never dreamed of doing anything but waiting on themselves and on the younger ones who were either babies in arms or just learning to totter about and tumble over things. If Mary Lennox had been a child who was ready to be amused, she would perhaps have laughed at Martha's readiness to talk. But Mary only listened to her coldly and wondered at her freedom of manner. At first she was not at all interested, but gradually, as the girl rattled on in her good-tempered, homely way, Mary began to notice what she was saying. You should see 'em all," she said. "There's 12 of us and my father only gets 16 shillings a week. I can tell you my mother's put to it to get porridge for 'em all. They tumble about on teach more and play there all day, and mother says t'air of teach more fattens them. She says she believes they eat teach grass same as teach wild ponies do. Our Dickon, he's 12 years old, and he's got a young pony he calls his own." "Where did he get it?" asked Mary. "He found it on teach moor with its mother when it was a little one, and he began to make friends with it and give it bits o' bread and pluck young grass for it. And it got to like him, so it follows him about and it lets him get on its back. Dickon's a kind lad and animals likes him." Mary had never possessed an animal pet of her own, and had always thought she should like one. So she began to feel a slight interest in Dickon. And as she had never before been interested in any one but herself, it was the dawning of a healthy sentiment. When she went into the room which had been made into a nursery for her, she found that it was rather like the one she had slept in. It was not a child's room, but a grown-up person's room, with gloomy old pictures on the walls and heavy old oak chairs. A table in the center was set with a good substantial breakfast. But she had always had a very small appetite, and she looked with something more than indifference at the first plate Martha set before her. "I don't want it," she said. "Thee doesn't want thy porridge." Martha exclaimed incredulously. "No, thee doesn't know how good it is. Put a bit o' treacle on it or a bit o' sugar." "I don't want it," repeated Mary. Said Martha. "I can't abide to see good victuals go to waste. If our children was at this table, they'd clean it bare in 5 minutes." "Why?" said Mary coldly. "Why?" echoed Martha. "Because they scarce ever had their stomachs full in their lives. They're as hungry as young hawks and foxes." "I don't know what it is to be hungry," said Mary, with the indifference of ignorance. Martha looked indignant. "Well, it would do thee good to try it. I can see that plain enough," she said outspokenly. "I've no patience with folk as sits and just stares at good bread and meat. My word! Don't I wish Dickon and Phil and Jane and t' rest of 'em had what's here under their pinafores. Why don't you take it to them?" suggested Mary. It's not mine, answered Martha stoutly. And this isn't my day out. I get my day out once a month, same as th rest. Then I go home and clean up for Mother and give her a day's rest. Mary drank some tea and ate a little toast and some marmalade. You wrap up warm and run out and play, you, said Martha. It'll do you good and give you some stomach for your meat. Mary went to the window. There were gardens and paths and big trees, but everything looked dull and wintry. Out! Why should I go out on a day like this? Well, if the doesn't go out, the LT have to stay in. And what has the got to do? Mary glanced about her. There was nothing to do. When Mrs. Medlock had prepared the nursery, she had not thought of amusement. Perhaps it would be better to go and see what the gardens were like. Who will go with me? She inquired. Martha stared. You'll go by yourself, she answered. You'll have to learn to play like other children does when they haven't got sisters and brothers. Our Dickon goes off on th more by himself and plays for hours. That's how he made friends with th Pony. He's got sheep on th more that knows him, and birds as comes and eats out of his hand. However little there is to eat, he always saves a bit o' his bread to coax his pets. It was really this mention of Dickon which made Mary decide to go out, though she was not aware of it. There would be birds outside, though there would not be ponies or sheep. They would be different from the birds in India, and it might amuse her to look at them. Martha found her coat and hat for her and a pair of stout little boots, and she showed her her way downstairs. If the goes round that way, they'll come to th gardens, she said, pointing to a gate in a wall of shrubbery. There's lots o' flowers in summertime, but there's nothin' bloomin' now. She seemed to hesitate a second before she added, One of th gardens is locked up. No one has been in it for 10 years. Why? Asked Mary in spite of herself. Here was another locked door added to the 100 in the strange house. Mr. Craven had it shut when his wife died so sudden. He won't let no one go inside. It was her garden. He locked th door and dug a hole and buried th key. There's Mrs. Medlock's bell ringing. I must run. Let your dreams carry you to a gentle, happy world. Good night.